Alright, this next one is the flight of the wild hen, and you'll see parts of the plated algorithm in here. Here's how it works. We can't start just anywhere with this because it takes up a bit of room side to side and up to down. We're going to start 2 dots over, so this is where we're starting. And the idea is we're going to proceed on a 45, but then we're going to bounce back. We have really this pattern is the one that gets repeated. And it doesn't look like it, but here's how. You'll see this sort of basic shape here, and you'll see another one of them there. So there's that kind of S-like shape, and then another S-like shape. So there's a repetition of that S-like shape. Now, I mean, you might imagine roughly joining them like this, where you've got some half, and so that chunk gets that's the vertical element. Now, when you get to the edge of a grid on the flight of the wild chicken, you bounce just like the plated algorithm. So bounce, bounce, and then when you hit back on the inside, there's a horizontal element to this algorithm, which is a wiggle. Right? So it's a wiggle, 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 wiggle. Now we're hitting the outside, so we're going to bounce, bounce, and now we're going vertically. We're going to use this vertical part of the algorithm again. Now, if you've ever chased chickens around a yard, and I did as a boy, and maybe you did as well, this is kind of comical to watch. This is supposed to represent the path of a chicken or some bird that you're chasing around trying to catch it, presumably to eat it. And so it's kind of funny watching the way this thing runs all over the place. Right? It seems quite chaotic. If you compare this to some of the other algorithms we looked at it, this is in some sense the nuttiest, I think. So now we're back up at the top, we're going down, so we're going to repeat this S, S. Now we're headed towards a side of this box, so we bounce, just like the plated algorithm, running at a 45, bounce. Now we're at, we bounced, we're on a horizontal here, we can't go anymore, so there's our wiggles. At a corner, now we don't have room to do this algorithm here, right? So we can't scoop anything. There's not enough stuff. So we just flow down the side, and when we get to a corner, this is just like the plated algorithm as well. We shoot up, right, and then flow down the sides. Get to this corner, wiggle along the bottom, and then we're headed in the side here, so we bounce. Now we're back to where we started. And I'll go over that once more. There's a lot of parts to it, so go over it in Sharpie. We had started here, just 2 in, and right there is that S shape. There's that S shape hitting the side, bounce, bounce. Now we're inside of the grid. There's a wiggle, hit the outside, bounce, bounce. Now we're in the vertical part. So there's that shape, hitting the sides, bouncing, bouncing, and now we're on the edge. So there's a wiggle effect. And continue that down here, and straight back up, wiggle, hitting a side, straight back up, and done. All right. Now let's try this on another grid. So that was one curve, right? This was just one. Now over here, what happens if we do this one? So I'll start in the same same place. That is 2 in. So there's that shape. There's that shape. Now we have 3 repetitions of it. I'm going to side, bounce, bounce. All right, be careful, not too steep there. And then wiggle, hitting a side, bounce, bounce. Now at the top again, turning. This is where we launch into these S's. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3. On the side, bounce, bounce, wiggle, bounce, bounce. Now we're on the top again, so we're going to flow down. Right, so there's that shape, there's that shape, there's that shape. Now we're on the bottom edge, so bounce, bounce, and then wiggle, and then wiggle, and then straight up, and then wiggle, wiggle along the bottom, bounce, bounce, back to where we started. So again, one curve. Right. Here's one more. This is 7 by 10. This is not going to be 2 curves. Well, it's going to be 2 curves. It's not going to be 1 curve. And so the fun thing here is that 2 curves means 2 chickens. So this is going to end up representing chasing 2 of these chickens or hens, which is kind of funny. So we'll go in, start here. Right? There's the S shape. There's the S shape. There's the S shape. Right? Same as before, we have the same number of rows, 7. We just have a bit more horizontal space. So we'll see how that affects everything. There's our sideways wiggle. And we're bouncing, bouncing. Now we're descending again. So there are those S shapes. Bounce, bounce, wiggle along the top, flow down the left edge, and move all the way back up to the beginning. So we've finished, we've closed our curve. Our chicken's back to where it started. But we have all these dots left. So let's think about it. We couldn't start here. There's not enough room. We don't want to start here because that would muck things up. What about over here? Can we start here? Does that work? Yeah, it does. So there's room for our S shapes. So there are those S shapes. Bouncing, bouncing, and then you have this wiggle, bounce, bounce. Now we're flowing down again. So you can see this grid has just enough room. Bounce, flow down the right-hand side, wiggle along the bottom, bounce, bounce, back to where you started. So it's pretty neat if you think about it. If you can see it, there are 2 green descents, and there are 2 orange descents, right? There are 2 sideways green motions, and there are 2 sideways orange motions. Green goes down the left-hand side, the orange goes down the right-hand side. Green's on the top, orange on the bottom. So 2 pretty similar designs overlaid. So pretty neat. Some questions for you to think about. Other grids maybe. So, which grids are monolinear? What is the smallest grid? Can you make a sona with 3 chickens? Which grid would that be? So there's lots of questions to think about, of course. There are some that keep you busy.